had a blast doing the studies on running backs from the last podcast, so I'm going to keep it going for a little bit more. Some of the comments said they enjoyed looking into the yards before contact and yards after contact. Got me thinking some of the questions, did a little more studying, a little pondering. So I did my workouts and walking. So I got something else here in the same vein. I'm going to dial in to the AFC East running backs, these two stats in reflection of those running backs, and then even dial more for my team, the Dolphins. So to give us a real understanding of what we got going into the season, and it's gonna really present an idea that I've been saying for a while very clearly. I think it's gonna be pretty rock solid. So yards before contact, you look at the stat, you're like, oh, yards before contact right away, how many yards the offensive line blocks? And that's true. That's the bottom line. But how that bottom line is created is very complex. I can't bring it all to the table. I don't even know it all. I'm still thinking about it and studying it. And there's so much that goes into that yards before contact because everything's working to support or derail the offensive line's blocking. And so a couple quick examples just so you can understand. You're a defense and you got a running back come up to the line of scrimmage and the guy's got hands of stone. Well, you're not playing off because he's not gonna come out and do a route, and if he does, it's whatever. So you're gonna pinch and get close up and shoot on that run very quickly. This is gonna make the offensive line's job much harder. You got a great quarterback. You gotta watch out and back up. If this running back comes in that can catch the football and run it, now you're playing off, and now that makes the offensive line's job easier. You can see how it goes. There's no wide receiver threat. You can bunch up more. If there's great wide receiver threat, there's on and on and on it goes. And I can't really present it all, and I'm sure you don't want to hear me say about it. But I just wanted to give you that quick sprinkle. It's a very complex stat to understand. I mean, it's very simple to understand what the numbers mean, but how it's generated is very difficult. But yards after contact is much simpler. It's more exciting. And to me, the running back position is football. It's the most artistic, poetic, romantic, heroic position in the game. You get small guys like Barry. You got big guys like Eric Dickerson. You got guys in the middle like Walter Payton. You got LaDainian Thompson. Everyone brings a different artistry, a different prototype to the table to get the work done. It's pretty much unlike any other position. Most of the other positions, you need to be a general prototype. Quarterback has gone a little bit in the new style with smaller quarterbacks and stuff like that, but nothing's like the running back position. So the yards after contact just means what does the running back do as far as post-contact? Now, it could be Walter Payton stiff arm to break the tackle. It could be Earl Campbell doing the head to the chest and blowing guys out. It could be Barry Sanders doing the spin to elude a tackle. Or it could be like one of my favorites is Marcus Allen. Guy was just phenomenal. And like what he would do at the end of his career when he was kind of slowing down a little bit and he was with the Chiefs, contact was coming. He knew it. He knew he didn't have the size to blow the guy out and, he didn't want to save his body. So he would create a glancing blow. Just as the tackle would happen, he'd slide to one side and the blow would hit it on one side of his shoulder pad and he would fall forward, pick up that extra half yard to a yard. And that's a big difference. You go from 2.6 to 3.6, 3.6 to 4.6. You see, 3.6 and you're like, this guy sucks. 4.6, you're like, he's good. But all it takes is that. So when you see these yards after contact, you look at the running back, and then you have to dig into his tape and see his artistry. So it adds a little more flavor, but it's more simple to compress. Now, what the percentage the offensive line brings to the table, and obviously all the components that go into the offensive line to give it that momentum, to create the space, and then the running backs after contact, that comes together and creates the rushing production. And then you look to see, well, how much did the offensive line give compared to how much the running back give? It's not 100% rock solid picture, but you can see, does this guy generate his yards mostly from offensive line play, or is he giving equal or even more in some cases? And that's rare. More than what the offensive line gives is very rare, and that's a very big sign a running back's a good running back. And another thing, so you could see a running back, he's got 2.5 yards, 3.5 yards after contact, but he's got 15 or 20 or 30 or 50 rushing attempts. That doesn't give us a clear picture. But when you see it 150, 200, 300, now you feel like, okay, this stat is more an accurate portrayal of the talents of this running back. It could work conversely, too, that the running back gets so many snaps that he's worn out or hurt. You got bad knee or bad shoulder. You're not breaking. So sometimes you'll see a good back and you got down year. Yeah, the guy was playing on a bad knee. The thing was swelling up every day. They were shooting cortisone in it. And he had, a bad shoulder too. So, you got to look at the whole picture. But as a quick look, and if you scan over a couple of seasons, you can really get an idea of what this back's about. So I'm going to go through a couple of backs just to give you an understanding. So when we talk about the backs in the AFC East, you'll have a template to say, oh, this guy did this and that guy. So I'm just going to go over a couple quick ones. Najee Harris, I talked about last time, 1.7 before, 2.2 after, 307 snaps, which is a nice amount of snaps to say this is not just, a few fluky runs or whatever. And he had 30 broken tackles. So every 10 tackles, he was breaking one. Impressive. Now, somebody said, he's going to have a great career for 3 years because they're going to grind him up and he's going to get beat up. And, but we'll see. Dalvin Cook, a lot of people rave about him, and I'm not knocking him anyway, but he had 2.7 yards before contact and 1.9 after contact on 249 snaps. Offensive line brought almost 60% of the table. Now, Alvin Kamara, 2.3 and 1.5, 240 snaps, smaller back, but he had no passing game for most of the year, so he was probably getting keyed on. I'd be interested. I got to go back and check his previous seasons. I don't think it's 1.5. But Zeke Elliott, big back, good offensive line, 2.5 yards before contact, 1.7 after on 237 snaps. That's not what you want to see from a big star back that you're paying big money for. Derrick Henry, 2.1 and 2.2 after, with everybody on top of him. Very impressive back. Very, very impressive back. And it goes to show that Najee Harris, if he keeps himself healthy, can have a nice long career. Now, hopefully Henry can stay healthy this year, and there's just a blip on the radar, or maybe it's his body's breaking down. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be very, very. That's another interesting storyline. Very interesting storyline. So now let's get into the AFC East, the backs. I'm going to go over the Bills and some of the other teams, Bills, Jets, and Patriots first. Zach Moss, 1.5 yards before contact, 2.1 after on 96 snaps. Not a lot of snaps, but if you look at last year and this year, you look at him last year, it was 1.8 and 2.4 on 112. This guy is not really appreciated by the Bills. Understandable why, but this is a guy who's has a good chance to kind of blossom a little bit this year with that offensive line. Big guy, 220. Still remember him meeting a hole, and Robert Edwards. That was an amazing shot by both players. Physical guy. I think this guy could really step forward. Ramondre Stevenson, I talked about last time, 1.9 and 2.7 with 133 snaps and 16 broken tackles. If this guy can refine his craft, stay healthy, the sky is the limit for this dude. I mean, he really could be a very, very good back. And then you look at Michael Carter. And I'm going to compare him to somebody else. Michael Carter, who I really liked in the fourth round, was a steal. Small, 200 pounds. 2 yards before contact, 2.2 after on 147 snaps. Now, Donta Foreman from the Titans, he had 2 yards before contact and 2.2 after. Same exact stats on 133 snaps. That's the beauty of the running back position. You got a guy who's way over 6 feet tall, big dude, uses speed and power. Then you got another guy who's a small fry, about 200, and he uses moves, slipperiness, little physicality. Both of them getting it done the exact same way, but 2 different artists using two different things to get it done. That's the beauty of the running back position. So I just want to throw that out there. Carter's a really good back. Then you got Gaskin, 2.1, 1.4, 173 snaps, 7 broken tackles. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, he sucks, but Alvin Kamara had 2.3 and 1.5. And if you look at Gaskin from 2020, he had 2.1 before contact, 2 after contact, 140 snaps, 42 snaps, and 6 broken tackles. Now, 1.4 and 2.0. I think it's more in the middle there. I think it's closer to 2 in my opinion. I really am a fan of his. Don't think he's great, but as a 3-down back, I think the guy, especially when we start looking at some of these other backs, is a little bit better than some people might want to give him credit for. Now, Mostert, a lot of people are excited about Mostert. He picked him up. 3.3, and this is 2020, 3.3 yards before contact, 1.7 after on 104 snaps with 5 broken tackles. Now, Edmonds in 2021 had 3.6 yards before contact and 1.5 after on 116 snaps with 5 broken tackles. I mean, if you gave Gaskin that same line, he'd had 5 yards a carry. And in 2020, Edmonds had 2.7 and 1.9 with 97 carries and 10 broken tackles. It's either 5 broken tackle, 10 broken tackle. Either way, the offensive line generated much of his play as it did Mostert. Now, Salvon Ahmed in 2021 had 1.4 before, 1.4 after, 54 snaps. In 2020, he had 3.3 before contact and 1 after contact, 79 snaps with 4 broken tackles. Now, if you watch him play, I know because I've watched him, he misses holes. He's still growing. He's still figuring out. Guy's got talent. Might take him a little while to figure things out. Maybe it's this year. But still, you can see Gaskin is not as bad as it appears. Now, Michel, I talked about last time. He had 2.1 before contact and 1.9 after contact on 845 snaps and 6 broken tackles in 2021. 2020, very limited display, 2.1 and 3.6, 79 snaps and 9 broken tackles. To me, he's around 2 yards per broken tackle. And this really says Ramondre Stevenson did a lot more work than his offensive line gave him. Michael Carter did more work than his offensive line gave him. Moss did more work than his offensive line gave him. Now, I think Stevenson can handle a big load. I don't think Moss can. And I don't think Carter can. But those 3 backs really showed a lot. Our backs, the Dolphins backs, they can get the work done if the offensive line is creating space. If they're giving these backs opportunity to get past the defensive line, these guys can make things happen. And the nice part about the Dolphins backfield is they got 4 guys, all with injury concerns, but all of them can do work. One goes down, you put another one in. Edmonds can catch. Gaskin can catch. Mostert, I think, is a pretty decent catcher. Michel, But all of them can create something, So if 1 or 2 guys go down, you still got 2 more. I don't think any of these backs are our future, but they're good enough for now if this offensive line does its job. And this is why I'm harping on the offensive line. Because if the offensive line gets these running backs to run, it's going to help Tua throw the football. It's going to give the defense time to rest and not get burnt out. And then it's going to open up every opportunity that we need and we want. But it's going to have to start with the offensive line blocking, obviously with Hill and Waddle and the schemes and McDaniel and the coaches and the play calls and all that other stuff. But the main piece of the puzzle is the guys blocking, as long as you got semi-quality pieces around it, which the Dolphins do. Tua might not be the greatest guy ever. He might be above average. That's okay. That's enough. Jimmy G got San Fran to the Super Bowl. But this offensive line needs to block. And this is why Armstead's health is critical. And this is why I'm so concerned about Dieter and the right tackle. So, Fin fans, you got a decent crew, a pretty good crew, a well-rounded crew of running backs. But this yards before contact, which it's a community thing. It's the coaches, the play calls, the quarterback, the receivers. But this stat is going to be a major stat determining how we do. We need to be close to that 4 yards per carry mark. And the offensive lines, is going to bring a lot to the table because none of these backs are over 2 yards after contact. So you're going to need that 2.2, 2.3 yards before contact to really get this thing running. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little study here. We should be happy with the crew we got for now. There's a lot of good, talented offensive lines and running backs in this division. If we can get this thing going, a running game, then we have a real good chance. If not, it's going to get hairy. Anyway, thanks for staying to the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Comments mean the most. They really do. Subscribes and likes help us with the Google overlords and keep me in business because then my sponsors are happy and then I can sit here and ponder the stuff while I work out and walk around and get paid to do it, which is pretty fantastic for me. So anyway, thanks. Just Curtis saying, go Phins, catch you next time. Be well. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.